Today I'm going to show you how I painted this mini oil painting from start to finish. So here's the reference photo for today, and the colours are titanium white, cadmium yellow pale, cadmium yellow deep, cadmium red, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and my medium today is Gamblin solvent-free gel. So I start by mixing up a really sort of pale colour for the sky. The size of the surface that I'm working on is 5 by 5 inches and it's pretty small. And I'm going to keep this painting really sort of simple and fairly light. There'll be a bit of contrast later on. Right now I'm mixing up colour of the sky. I'm not just making a blue sky and blue and white sky. I'm adding a little bit of variation into that mix there. So you'll see a lot of titanium white, with hints of cerulean blue and ultramarine blue and a bit of that yellow. And I'm just, it's all for a little bit of interest. As I said, I want a little bit of variation in the sky, and I'm not going too dark, and I'm just sort of picking out the paints from the piles with the corner of the paintbrush, and ever so sort of gently. But it just gives a bit of, as I said, a bit of variation when you sort of add in a few more extra colours into that sky. And I want it sort of almost white because this surface is tiny, and I don't want to sort of go too dark with the paintings that are this size. So as usual, I'm also using ivory flats from Rosemary & Co. I'll leave a link in the description below. They're awesome brushes, and I think I used about 4 brushes in this tutorial, in this painting. This was the largest one that I used, and you'll see me also use a palette knife towards the end of the painting. So a bit of variation with brush strokes here, and I'm sort of mixing within the previous mix there, and just sort of applying a little bit more paint here and there, and not blending everything out, but having some subtle sort of blends. And it looks a bit sort of messy here. I know that I won't be doing much of this sky, so I've got a lot of thick paint here, and I'm just going to begin by painting the middle part of the sky. And I went a little bit too rosy there, but I'm going to use that rosy mix later on as the sky sort of comes down. So as usual, I'm going for a sort of semi-abstract slash impressionistic slash with a little bit of realism in there, a lot of slashes, and trying to get the impression really. And I'm using the reference photo just as a guide. I'm not copying everything to be exact. I've finished this painting just over 20 minutes, and I'm really happy with the outcome. It turned out pretty good. I'm happy with how it came out. I'm getting used to painting now on these 5x5s. I have painted previously. I mean, I've painted before on sort of small painting surfaces, but it can be quite challenging. And okay, so here, for example, I've just got that sort of pale, almost pink mix. I just want to identify where that sort of starts and the trees begin. So there'll be obviously trees at the bottom. It's mainly a skyscape, but there are a few trees, and I'll just call it a sort of sunrise painting, because the photo was shot in the morning and it was a beautiful sky. I think my sister gave me this reference photo. I'm not sure, I don't remember. I must ask her. I have a lot of reference photos that people give me, and I'm very grateful, but sometimes I don't really remember who gave me what, so... Okay, so I've got a slightly smaller brush here, and I'm going to mix in a bit of vibrancy to indicate that sunrise, which will hopefully contrast. Well, it will contrast because I've seen how this painting turned out. This is a freestyle voiceover. So it will contrast against part of the trees that you see at the bottom of the painting. But I'm just going a bit slow here just to try and get the right kind of yellow at this point, and that cadmium deep yellow looks orange from my video, and it's not actually orange, it's actually quite a dark yellow. So I'm just laying in now with pretty thick paints, because I'm not going to be working too much over the top of this, and I'm just going to adjust it now with a little bit of cadmium red, just to really sort of indicate and show more red pretty much. And then very nice warm colours in this piece, and I painted this in about 20 minutes, just over, and I had my daughter running around at the same time, so it was a bit chaotic in the house. Bless her. But I got the job done, and I got to sort of hang out with her at the same time. So yeah, just adding some warmth here, and I'm just placing I said a lot of thick paint down, and I'm going to sort of tie it together a little bit and blend some areas, and just keeping those brush strokes really visible at the moment. That's the beauty of oil painting. You don't have to sort of automatically start blending everything out and letting it all sort of, creating all these sort of subtle transitions. It's nice to do both. So if you saw the sky, it made it really pale, and I've got this really thick paint that I can sort of blend into the sky a little bit, but leave those thick paint applications there and decide, later if I want to blend out areas or not. I think with the painting, it's nice to have a variation of blended areas, thick brushstrokes showing, and it's totally up to you how you want to emphasize and create paintings, and things that you want to sort of enhance, things you want to sort of knock back. That's the joy of painting, and that's having this reference photo. It's just there to hold my hand. It's totally up to me what I want to paint, what I want to change in the reference photo. That's the freedom and joy of painting. That is your painting, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. So just got that bit of a mad mix there of cool and warm colours, and I'm just sort of blending a little bit, and I'm keeping the colours pretty clean as well. There's no muck or muddiness going on there. So a little bit of blending, just to tie some areas together and not overdoing it. I think that was with my blending brush, which gives a sort of softer blends as opposed to using my finger. I love using my finger too. Depends which parts, which sort of different effects I want when it comes to blending. My surface that I'm using is Michael Harding's non-absorbent acrylic primer. I love the stuff. For me, surface is probably the most important thing, apart from good quality paints. Using Winsor & Newton artist quality paints. But the Michael Harding non-absorbent acrylic primer is incredible. It really sort of pushes those colours out and keeps everything fresh and doesn't absorb the actual paints or the colours into the surface. I'll leave a link in the description from Jackson's Fine Arts where you can get yourself some of that stuff. It's absolutely incredible. So here I've got that smaller brush out, and I'm just sort of blending, adding some warmth into the cool part of the sky there. So it's really important to sort of step back from your paintings, even when there's a 2-year-old running around you. You just got to be careful with that part, because I work my art studios at home, and I had her running around. So it's important to step back without standing on your child, and really sort of like give yourself, if you see what's sort of working, what's not, and stepping back is important, and seeing things that you can change, and then coming back up close again and making those changes. So here I'm mixing a green with that ultramarine blue and the cadmium yellow lights, but I want a darker green now. So I'm usually going from dark to light, and I added in some of that burnt sienna, which just makes it sort of desaturates and slightly darkens. It darkens the green for sure, and it just makes the greens a little bit more natural. And of course, I'll be applying a lighter tone on top of this. But I'm just indicating some areas of trees. I'll also be adding in a small house shortly. But I think I was really happy with the edges of this painting. So I'm adding a little bit of yellow there. So edges is really vital for me when it comes to painting. So hard edges, soft edges. I think it really does make for an interesting piece. And we're going for some sort of abstract, impressionistic, with a touch of realism. And I think I achieved that in this painting. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. And I kept things really simple. And you'll see me sort of adjust that tone slightly now. Or quite a lot, actually. With some of that mucky titanium white and cadmium yellow light there. So I thought I'd do this tutorial before man flu kicks in. I'm feeling a bit under the weather the last few days. So I thought I'd get in a little tutorial before man flu really does get me. So yeah, so I'm going for a cooler mix there. And with a slightly bit more of that ultramarine blue mixing with the cadmium yellow light over the top of that mix. Just for some added interest. Green could be a really funny colour. You don't want to go too vibrant. Well, straight away at least, in my opinion. You want to sort of start from dark, then adjust it accordingly. I think I'm going to get my palette knife out in a second. Yeah, here comes my trusty palette knife. So it's this really tiny palette knife here. And I'm just going to begin by jumping back to a darker tone, which will create some incredibly nice texture into the greens there. So again, I'm going for the darker green, and this is where it gets a lot of fun now because it's slightly unpredictable, but you kind of get a feel for it once you start using a palette knife on top of that wet paint. The paint below that is quite thin, but not too thin. This paint is thicker, and I'm just applying it usually kind of down and scratching into things. It looks a bit chaotic, but I kind of know what I'm doing. I've got a sense of what I'm doing. It's just playing with pressure and applications, thick application of that paint, and letting it blend a little bit with what's already down on the surface with that green, and just indicating some distant trees there. It's a lot of fun. For me, best of both worlds is using paintbrushes and palette knives in the same painting session, and I can just scratch away and create something that looks pretty realistic without getting out tiny little brushes and having to fix all that detail and do that. That would just drive me absolutely insane. I just prefer making the illusion of detail with not doing that much work. So here I'm going for a house colour, which I want a little bit too vibrant there, so it's a bit too ready for me. So I think I added a little bit more brown on top of that later. Don't usually add houses in my paintings, but it was a little bit of fun adding something in some sort of different interest in the painting. It was good fun. So whilst I paint the house, I'll just mention that I do have a Patreon membership site, and I will leave the link in the description below. I do offer a lot more than I do offer on YouTube, and absolutely love my small community that I have over on Patreon. I'm really grateful for your support. So check out the link in the description below, where I do offer exclusive content that I don't share on YouTube or anywhere else. So check that out in the link below, and let's get back to the painting. So what am I doing here? Probably cleaning my brush. The beauty about water mixable oil paints is that they're just an easy cleanup. They're exactly the same as regular oil paints, in my opinion, and it's just an easy cleanup really, because I don't have any terps or anything or mineral spirits in the house, especially with a little tornado daughter running around. So there, this is really thick paint. That was almost cadmium yellow deep, pretty much straight out of the tube, with a little bit of adjustment, I think. But I want that really strong contrast now, that really sort of like warmness, I say, hitting the house there. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, water mixable oil paints. Amazing invention. And most of my tutorials that I have on my YouTube channel in the last month or so are created with water mixable oil paints, and just an easy cleanup really. And I wash brushes in between, but I make sure they're really dry, and I can use that Gamblin solvent free gel along with that to just carries the colour a little bit more than just using water. So I just had a bit of pink there just for some interest. Amazing what you can do with oil paints. There was a little bit of pink in the sky in the reference photo, but I just wanted to add a little bit more because I think it looks nice with the pale blue. And without going overboard, I really wanted to keep painting, but I knew that if I did do that, if I continued painting, I would overwork the piece. Yeah, okay, so I was going to leave this part out, and I probably should have, but I kind of like how it looked. So I wanted to add a little bit of this cloud now on the right-hand side, and kept the paint pretty thick, this sort of plum colour. I'm going to go a bit lighter there. But what you'll see me do now is make a bit of a mistake, because what I did here was I laid in the purple colour, and then I went to blend it straight away, which you'll see now, and it kind of made it a little bit mucky into that yellow. Do I do it now, or did I do it in a minute? I think I came back to that. You'll see me anyway. Got the palette knife out and didn't do much with the palette knife. Yeah, I'm just scratching into the trees. We'll come back to that purple cloud in a second. I do that a lot, really. I dance around the surface. Okay, so I'm looking for edges now. So I want some edges blended and some not blended, really. I think it makes for a really interesting piece. I think it gives the painting more depth and certainly more interest, and just gives it another dimension here. So look, I blended the purple, and I think it left it a little bit too mucky for my liking. So what did I do now? I jumped back into the purple, and just to sort of added a bit more pink and just painted over that muckiness, so it's a lot thicker now, the paint there, and it sort of sits better on top of the warm colour there in the sky. And just sort of rolled in a little bit with that pink and almost white colour there. Okay, so just with my palette knife here, just scratching away some of the into that surface there, the wet surface, just to reveal some highlights and for some interest. And yeah, next week, hopefully I'm going to start another tutorial, and it's going to be on a 10 by 10 inch wood panel, which seems huge compared to this one. Well, it's twice the size. It's massive, and yeah, probably the tutorial will probably go on a little bit longer. But yeah, I'm looking forward to starting that. So if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, then make sure you are subscribed and you've hit the little notification bell, which then you'll be notified for when I attempt that 10 by 10 inch painting. I've got a great reference photo lined up. Um, okay, so just got the edge of the palette knife there with that almost white color. I'm just cutting in on the edge there just to reveal part of the rooftop and the house there, and just using that nicely with the palette knife, with the small palette knife, should I say? And just indicating there a little chimney with the same color mix as the roof. I'm going to get my blending brush out now and just sort of, I really like this effect now with the blending brush, just in some areas, and just blending and pulling down so it looks like the illusion of, those like straight bushes or trees that you get, which looks really nice, I think. And just pushing out a little bit in some areas, just a few sort of final touches and a few bits of pulling and pushing, and that's pretty much it really. I mean, painting that took me just over 20 minutes to do, and I'm really happy with the outcome, and it was a lot of fun. And I just want to say thank you if you've been here this whole time listening to me go on and create a little mini painting of sky. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And before I say bye, I just want to let you in on a little tip. Signing your painting with a toothpick is absolutely genius, thanks to my wife, who thought of the idea. Works really well on the wood panel. Might not work so well on the canvas, but yeah, and it sort of looks part of the painting. So yeah, I really like that little final touch, that sort of technique. So yeah, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care for now, and happy painting.